Hey everybody, this is Brian, aka Helix Missionary. Welcome back to 2 Weeks One Shot, a tabletop RPG variety podcast. I'm really excited to welcome everyone to this episode in particular because we have hit some very cool milestones since the last one. We have hit over 300 downloads for the podcast so far, which is just phenomenal. We'd really like to give a big thanks to everyone who has listened to the show, everyone who's followed us on our various social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram, just everyone who supported us along this journey as we've been opening things up. Another great thing about this episode is that whether you are a listener who's been with us already, or if you're brand new, it's a good one because this is a whole new system with a whole new adventure that I'm running in Deadlands. Let's get into the adventure.
I've been having some very, very deep thoughts about the movie Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and I think I need to go ahead and bring it up.
Okay.
Because we're about to dive deep into this world, and I know that a lot of people that might be listening to this have only one point of reference for Weird Old West.
There are definitely some diehard West heads joining in on this one, I'm sure.
Listen, I'm going to be real. I don't think Wild Wild West gets brought up enough.
It's sadly forgotten. It's the second fantastic film with a Will Smith lead and hit song with the title of the movie as the main line, which is still a banger. I'm not sure if last time you heard that song, but it fucking slaps, bro. Damn.
I'm still making reference to the Millennium.
I encourage all of you at home, wherever you're listening to this, like put it on pause if you need to, pull up YouTube, find the Wild Wild West song. You'll thank us later. It's something.
Just watch that movie.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to 2 Weeks One Shot, the tabletop RPG podcast where we play a one-shot campaign every 2 weeks from different tabletop RPG systems. My name is Brian, also known as Helix Missionary, and I will be running tonight's campaign. Joining us at the table are my fellow sharpshooters, snake oil salesmen, hucksters, and, dare I say it, friends. Introduce yourselves, everybody.
I'm Alex. I'm the dude who DM'd the last thing.
Well, hey there. My name is Harold. Harold, the question. Will I be answered? Nope.
All right, well, I'm John, and I thought you were doing a DC reference there.
So for any of you tenderfoots out there who might be new to tabletop campaigns and tabletop gaming, a one-shot campaign is an adventure where you're going to gather up your posse and you're going to go out for a single ride, heading into the sunset at the end of that session. No encore, no sequels, just one and done. Tonight's adventure will be played with Savage Worlds Adventure Edition in the Deadlands Reloaded setting, both of which are published by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. In this world, gun hands and spell slingers have to survive against not only their fellow men, but the monsters that stalk the lonely places of the Weird West as well. As Marshal of the game, I control the various allies and adversaries that our wildcard player characters will meet and go up against. In Savage Worlds, players roll dice according to their traits, along with a wild die that increases the odds of success. Playing cards are used for initiative and moments of chance, and poker chips represent the favor of fate itself, helping our heroes to overcome challenges and remain standing at the day's end. As a quick side note disclaimer before we get into the game itself, Deadlands Reloaded is a fictionalized alternative history setting based generally on the common tropes and concepts of the Wild West era as it exists in media. It's less interested in an accurate portrayal of history than it is in painting a landscape for characters to explore. In Deadlands, and in our adventure, racism, sexism, and other types of bigotry and discrimination are purely the stuff of villains. We do not support the ideals of the historical Confederacy, and we do not support anyone who clings to such outdated and immoral ways of thinking. We are playing this simply for the fun of the fiction, and the only thing that we celebrate about this time period is probably the hats. So for right now, if y'all are raring to ride, then ready, steady, roll.
Yeah.
Tonight's adventure is titled A Nest of Vipers. The year is 1880. The three of you have been contracted by the Texas Rangers. You have been hired to find a man who goes by the name of Viper.
He sounds nice.
He was reported to have been involved in a recent raid on the town of Roswell in New Mexico. He is suspected to be a Union spy, probably someone working for their secretive Black Hat agency. They're very interested in finding out what it was that he was after in Roswell, what it was that he may have managed to get a hold of, and they very much are interested in making sure that no plans or equipment makes its way back into northern hands. They believe that Viper is beelining north from Roswell towards Denver, where he's probably hoping to catch a train on one of the different rail lines that leads back into Union territory. The three of you were asked to ride up the Texas Trail to Dodge City and there catch a train towards Denver, getting off somewhere en route to try and find out where Viper is hiding, where he and his men are at, and put a stop to their getaway. You may be thinking back to your meeting with Ranger Captain Malcolm Moraday, who had invited the three of you into his office to talk about things.
Have the aliens contacted both the Confederacy and the Union States, or are they working with one side or the other?
What does he see when he looks at you, the man who just asked that question?
He would find himself face to face with a very charming individual with a dark and luxurious complexion. Grotanks, Dr. Grotanks, the hempologist? Hemp farmer from Denver.
Also a scientist.
Also scientist, yeah. I have been perfecting the strain and the cultivation of the wild Colorado cannabis, which I have very lovingly titled Bulfunga Dream, named after my mother. And I have been using the technology of our day, the very fantastic and rare and mysterious ghost metal, to create percolators, contraptions, and devices to best use this wonderful form of energy, cannabis. Cannabis will be what the future is run on, Commander. And I'm sure that is what the aliens are here for, to beat us in our search for a cannabis-powered future.
Find Grotank starring on the History Channel way late at night.
Captain Morday, he does sigh, and he looks at you and he looks at his papers. And he says, Mr. Grotanks, I am afraid I'm not at liberty to divulge any information about the goings-on at Roswell to contracted help such as yourself.
I take another drag off of my ghost metal, hemp-powered, hemp-percolating ghost pipe. Captain Morday, I understand that you are not at liberty to say, but are you at liberty not to say?
There has been no contact with otherworldly entities at Roswell, New Mexico, nor any other city, township, state, facility, or fortress in this great nation. And if I may say so, I fear that you may have been reading a few too many dime novels while smoking on your pipe there.
Captain Morday, please, do not patronize me.
If we have any other questions, I'd be happy to,
Has Viper been seen traveling with anybody else?
I'm glad you asked that, sallow fella. He looks over towards you. What does he see when he looks at you?
He sees Fernando Lopez. Fernando is very sickly looking, Slightly older fellow. He's got his white hair slicked back, very prominent mustache, wearing a duster with red gloves and a three-piece suit underneath with a nice tie.
Is it a bola?
Yeah, it is a bolo. Let's go with a bolo tie.
He has, in fact, been seen with some other fellows. We believe, according to the reports, that he's been riding recently with a group of renegade soldiers. They've been raiding and causing a little trouble in some of the wider areas of the Confederacy, as well as the disputed territories. I think I should be clear in saying that these boys that he's riding with may be wearing old soldiers' uniforms, but they are not recognized as soldiers of this nation or any nation, and they need to be brought to heel just as badly as Viper does. We don't know exactly how many of them there are. Now we suspect it ain't more than maybe 24 men. Could be even less than that.
Sounds like something this important. We wouldn't be the first ones you've sent to find this crew.
I know that we live by the creed, one riot, one ranger, but the fact of that matter is that sometimes there aren't enough rangers to go around for every riot that's happening.
That's so deep, Captain. That's so deep.
Why, thank you. I've been thinking about putting it in my memoirs whenever I get the time to write them.
Have you thought about publishing on hemp paper?
I can't say I have considered the exact form and material that my memoirs would take. In any case, I do believe that the three of you, rather, should be capable of dealing with the situation at this point. We are obviously a little more concerned now that the raiders and their man Viper, who, again, we suspect to be a spy for the Union. The fact that they raided a facility that, by all accounts, they shouldn't have even known existed in its current capacity is of higher concern to us, and this is why the two of you will be accompanying Corporal Dixon here.
Dixon.
Got him.
Corporal Silas Dixon there is wearing like a black duster and hat that aren't quite as black as they used to be just from all the sun and use. The underclothes are very, very sensible for just going out riding all the time. He has a nice mutton chops going on with a mustache, nice thick mustache, and some kind of tangly, messed up shoulder-length hair under his hat.
It's a fine duster you got.
I'm understanding that there might be some cooperation on the part of the train company. Do you have any maybe direction on a likely contact that they might have had?
Captain Morday scowls and shuffles through his papers again, pulls one out and slaps it down. Pinned to one corner of it is a serviceable photograph of what appears to be a woman who is shaking hands with a gentleman in clearly a rather formal setting. Mina Devlin, the woman you see here, she's the current owner of Black River Rail Company by virtue of her husband's will when he passed on. To put it frankly, she is a shrewd negotiator, and she isn't afraid to get her hands, or at least her employees' hands, dirty in order to get what she wants. Devlin is pretty clearly willing to work with just about anybody in order to get ahead. Man you see in this photograph is Joshua Chamberlain, owner of Union Blue Railroad. She's willing to talk to a Union rail baron. She very well may be willing to talk to a Union spy. It would also explain how some reports of Viper are spread out further than makes sense to be. We've had reports of him being in two different places within a day of each other, hundreds of miles apart. They're using rail cars, makes it a mite more possible. Folks stationed in Dodge City have noted some strange goings on with some of the trains. They don't know anything too specific, but they know that there's cargo being sent out and cargo coming in every now and again. Doesn't seem like it all goes together with the manifests and what ends up arriving in Denver.
So do we have a picture of Viper?
He shuffles through some more papers and he ends up pulling up another photograph. He slides over to you, and it's a very blurry photograph that is all you can see. It's just a photograph of, what's probably a man from behind, turned away, too blurry and grainy to make out any information. The man is very skilled at what he does. We haven't been able to pin him down. We haven't been able to get a good photograph. We have reports vaguely of what he looks like, but even those are conflicting. We suspect he's a master of infiltration and espionage.
You know, I think I've seen this photo before. This is isn't this Bigfoot in that weird Bigfoot photo? He's kind of turned halfway looking back. Got a sassy Bigfoot look to him.
You know, I think you're right. I've seen that. I think that's him.
That's it. We're on the hunt for Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it.
I'd like to remind you all that the Rangers do not have any evidence or reason to believe in the existence of a Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever the locals may refer to it as.
Or foot of any other size.
We don't believe in feet.
The good news is that our task is to kill them all. So if we find these renegades who could be a little more obvious, larger group traveling together, possibly wearing old Confederate colors, then we can at least go from there. Killing all of them is probably a good start.
You hire a scientist to commit murder?
Yeah, you hire this guy to commit murder.
Is that a problem?
I'm at the cusp of modernity. I'm bringing the world to the future via cannabis. But yeah, I'll do it.
Mr. Grotanks, from the reports I've seen, the cusp of modernity you are on happens to overlap quite nicely with a penchant for putting folks in the ground.
What? No, what?
I'm not one to say whether they deserved it or didn't, because I wasn't there.
Yo, man, I'm just saying that like the weed industry is a brand new industry, you know, like that shit's hot right now, and you know, shit's changing, people going up and people going down, and you know, if you're not ready to compete, you know, it's America, man. This is capitalism. So you know, I'm just saying, Denver is the place, and you know, that's how we be.
I lean over to Fernando and I whisper, is modernity like a fancy word for like killing folks?
It's a nice way of saying killing the past and folks.
All right.
A lot of folks. Past tense.
Modernity. Killing the past.
I'm bringing you to modernity.
Modernity. Damn modernity.
Well, if you three want to continue your discussion on killing the past, be obliged if you did it on the trail. This is somewhat time sensitive. We believe that Viper himself may have been wounded in the raid, as well as some of his men, and some of their horses were killed too. That means they probably aren't traveling at full speed, and they're probably making for some hideout they have up in Colorado in order to avoid detection and lick their wounds before they make their way back towards Northern Territory. But if they get to Denver, there's a very good chance that he disappears forever, and we aren't going to be able to get him back or stop that information and equipment from reaching Union lines.
Once you hit Denver, you get a chance to live another life, be another man, to leave yourself behind into a city of modernity.
Son, how many people are you killing?
What? I mean, it's not like something I'm keeping track of.
I feel like there should be a term for someone who kills periodically and methodically, but we are not at that stage of our development. But I am worried about you.
Wow, what a complex turn for my character. But yes, perhaps I do have a sort of premeditated fascination with a process that I haven't recognized.
I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear any of that. You have horses waiting outside. Get your gear, saddle up, be on your way.
I'm taking my leave.
I turn to the captain and from my bag, I pull out a wad of some of my Balfunga Dream and I leave it there on his desk and say, Captain, I gift to you. Let it give you good dreams.
Just the scent of it sends you to delirium.
I have a lot of it if you want some. I mean, it's fantastic. It cures hepatitis, hemorrhoids.
I never smoke on a mission.
I just wanted to know if it was actually terrible.
Nah, it sounds like basically Captain Morday was given a nice clump of the good kush.
It cured my herpes.
He's just a snake oil salesman, but it's hemp.
It's not snake oil if I believe it, man. For the listeners at home, I have actually invested in this. This is one of my hindrances. I am delusional at a major level.
One of the defining features of characters in Deadlands, and by extension in all of Savage Worlds, is hindrances, which are sort of like the foils or weaknesses that your character might have. They're not always necessarily weaknesses as we might view them. So, for example, hindrances can be things like having a character who is particularly heroic or follows a code of honor. Basically what it means is that it's some defining attribute of your character that can get them into hot water every now and again. It's something that, you know, they struggle to get away from. It's a facet of who they are. And for better or worse, it sticks around, usually for worse.
If I can give him an example. So Grotanks, I gave him a bunch of hindrances because I thought it'd be kind of fun. So he's delusional. He's loyal, a stalwart defender that risks his life for his friends, but somehow that's a hindrance in this game. Also can't swim, get that, totally fine, practical. And I'm also have the hindrance Grim Servant of Death. I'm a killer of friends and a accidental manslaughterer.
But loyal to a fault.
I cannot tell you how excited I was to see that one on your sheet. That's a very fun one. Along with the fact that you can, you take hindrances for your character, they're role-playing things. They do give you some extra points at character creation, but also when you role-play into them heavily, and you have a little fun with them, and certainly if they cause any trouble for your character, the marshal, which is me, can hand out additional fate chips to reward you for role-playing and playing into these things. And Harold, I'm going to go ahead and give you a fate chip to represent your passion for your hemp and your belief that it cured your herpes.
I knew cannabis would reward me.
What are fate chips, Brian?
And fate chips, thank you for asking, John. So fate chips are, in general Savage Worlds terms, called bennies, which is short for benefits. In Deadlands specifically, they're referred to as fate chips, and they represent the hand of fate that rests on the shoulders of our heroes and rests on the shoulders of the villains as well, and allows them to overcome great odds and perform feats beyond the, reckoning of normal everyday men. Basically, fate chips, when you spend one, allow you to re-roll any roll that you've just made and take the better result. So if you don't think you did well enough on the first roll, or you just want to go for something better, you can spend a fate chip in order to do that. In Deadlands Reloaded, fate chips come in 3 colors. There's white, red, and blue.
It's like America.
Or France.
White chips are the most basic ones. Red chips are a little bit better, and blue chips are the best. Well, technically there's another type of chip, but it probably won't come up tonight, but it might. So each of you is going to start off with 1 chip of each color to keep things simple. You each have 1 white chip, which you can just use like a regular Benny. You have a red chip, which you can use to gain an additional 1d6 on the roll. But if you do that, I get an extra chip to spend on the villains and NPCs that you might be running into. And you have a blue chip that works the same as a red chip, but it doesn't give me a chip to use myself. You can use a red chip like a white chip, sacrificing that extra d6 in order to keep me from getting the extra chip to use on the stock NPCs. But do be aware, just as the 3 of you are wild cards with the hand of fate upon you, so too are some of the villains you might face. And they will also benefit from those fate chips being in their corner as well.
It's such a weird way to handle like the NPCs. Like some NPCs are special and others are. I wonder if they know. If they're like hanging out by themselves, me like, you know what? I'm a wild card. You guys aren't wild cards.
I imagine it's sort of like the non-wild card NPCs are referred to as extras. And I imagine it's very much like extras in a movie where like you can kind of tell.
Extras versus co-stars,
But yeah, so for right now, you each have 1 chip of each color. And Harold, you've just got yourself a second white chip.
Tight.
Go ahead and hold on to that, mark it down somewhere. If we were sitting all around at a table, I'd have a hat full of poker chips for us to draw out of. But being that we're being good little boys and staying out of COVID's reach, we're going to just do it this way.
I'm going to have to really pander for one of those blue ones.
The 3 of you rode up the Texas Trail, and you have arrived in Dodge City. You've reached the station an hour or 2 before its next train is set to leave, headed for Denver's way. The sounds of Dodge City are a little bit distant behind you. You were advised that Black River might be in cahoots with the men you're trying to find. And you may be interested in trying to find out anything that you can about the goings-on.
Suppose that we can inquire somewhere about maybe these renegades and this Viper fella, and be a place to start, because we need to get off this train at some point between our destination.
Maybe we can start up a little bit of trouble, then capture one of them, get whatever information we can get out of them. Sorry, too extreme for your taste, Ranger?
I mean, I'll do what I got to, but I don't really have jurisdiction here. Silas, his badge is pinned to the inside of his duster, so you can't see it unless he were to need it for some reason. So I'm not quite certain about, getting away with that before we catch our train.
Seems to me like you didn't hire us for worries of jurisdiction.
Yeah, I'm not in law enforcement at all. Are you, Mr. Lopez?
No, not in the slightest. I am open to suggestions, Ranger.
Well, first off, to be perfectly honest with y'all, not quite entirely partial to the Rangers. I'm here because it was my better choice. My idea, my suggestion, as it were, would be that we wander about this here train platform station and see what we can derive from some of these workers.
I think I'll get myself an old-fashioned Old West ice cream cone.
Well, hold on. Are we trying to get information or a light lunch?
I do have the munchies, actually, now that you mention it, Mr. Lopez. I am famished.
There is a saloon right across from the rail station that advertises that they do also have a small restaurant and they serve light lunches.
Look, a sign that says that they serve light lunches.
How light?
I do have to say, I am keeping a vegetarian lifestyle.
Hell, I could use a whiskey. Dear Lord, I could definitely use a whiskey.
Sounds to me like there is a Team A and a Team B. Team A goes and tortures one of these rail workers. Team B gets me a very, very light salad.
And as the three of you begin to separate, having figured out a very rough sketch plan, we will enter what in Savage Worlds terms is referred to as a dramatic task.
Ooh.
This is one of the very useful subsystems in Savage Worlds. They have a lot of different ways of handling different types of encounters because Savage Worlds is not a game that's built entirely around combat. There's a lot of other things that you do as well. And one of these is the dramatic task. Dramatic tasks are useful for when your heroes are in a situation where they need to accomplish something within a limited amount of time, like when they need to defuse a bomb or hack a computer or find out all the information they can before their train arrives and they have to leave the city.
Or get a salad.
So the way dramatic tasks works, or the ways that this one at least is going to work, the three of you are going to need to try and get 9 task tokens within 3 rounds of skill checks. And in order to do this, you're going to roll different skills that you will explain to me as the skill that you're using, along with the narrative of what you're doing, in order to try and find out information. If you have any questions about whether a skill would work or not, feel free to ask. If you want to know a little more information about the area, the people, anything like that, feel free to ask, and that can help determine what kind of skills you want to be using. You will have 3 rounds in which to accomplish this. During each round, a success and a raise on the die rolls will get you 1 task token each. A success is when you achieve a result of 4 on your die roll, and a raise is every 4 by which you exceed that marker. So if you were to roll an 8, you would get a success and a raise, netting yourself 2 out of 9 task tokens. You can operate independently, or you can help one another. You can even decide not to do anything during a particular round, and that may be not the worst idea in case you draw a club on initiative, and if you get a club, that means that you have a complication during that round. A complication means that some obstacle that you didn't expect has cropped up and will potentially cause dire consequences if you don't do well.
Like a stroke.
I mean, I guess. Say more like a tool breaking or, someone noticing what you're up to or having pointed questions. But I suppose anything can go as a complication. In game terms, what a complication does is give you a -2 to your roll for that round. And if you fail your roll, you automatically fail the dramatic task. It ends immediately at whatever state you're at. The more task tokens you get, the better you do in this particular dramatic task. Each round in this case is going to be about 20 to 30 minutes of activity.
Alex, what was your intention? Like, where are you headed?
I want to like interrogate a dude and get information.
Okay, I'm trying to decide where I want to be.
You want to be team B? You want to be salad team?
I was going to go to the bar, but since he's already going, I think I'll stick around the train station as well and look for some other people.
I'm just going to do some common knowledge and see what I can dig up.
I am going to deal out the cards for our initiative here.
Brian, did you get yourself cards?
I have an actual deck of cards that I can use for drawing from that makes everything much easier.
Brian, what happens if we get Uno?
If you get Uno, then I will be a little confused and I'll probably play a draw 4 card on you,
Oh, shit.
which, that's not going to be so good in this game.
Okay, but then I draw my reverse card.
Okay. That doesn't reverse the draw 4 onto me. That's not how Uno works.
I've never played Uno.
I don't think I have either.
Okay, but then I draw my Blue Eyes White Dragon and send you to the Shadow Realm.
That activates my trap card, actually. So
Oh, damn it. I hate Deadlands.
before I deal out the cards, though, I do need to check in
I'm fine. How are you?
with everybody's characters. Do any of you have any edges that deal with initiative? Edges are, for anyone who's played D&D, they would be the equivalent of feats. They're basically the special characteristics that your character has that can affect how they operate in the game world. Many edges will give you a bonus to certain types of roles or actions, or they will affect the options that your character has in combat, allowing them to perform greater feats or try and do different things. Edges can take all different manner of form, representing everything from inherent qualities your character has to specialized training to connections they have with an organization. Do any of you have any edges that interact with initiative?
Ooh, it's me. I have an edge called Quick, which says whenever I am dealt an action card of 5 or lower, you throw that shit away and you keep giving me cards until I have one that's higher than 5.
Same for John.
So, when I'm doling out the cards here from a standard deck of playing cards, including the jokers, so 54 cards total.
Are jokers good or bad?
Jokers are good, and we'll bring up what specifically happens with them if anyone gets one. But for right now, let's go ahead and start dealing out the cards. Alex, you're up first.
Joker.
You start with a 3 of hearts, which you can't keep.
Throw it in the trash. Cut it.
So we draw again, and you end up with the 10 of clubs, a higher card,
Woo!
but it is a complication.
Oh.
And we'll bring up what that is in a moment. John,
Yeah.
you get the King of Hearts.
Ooh.
Harold,
Yes.
you get the 9 of Hearts.
Nice. Maybe.
And we go down the list in card order, standard poker rules for which card is better than which other and all that. Aces are high. So we start with the King of Hearts. That's you, John.
Yeah.
Corporal, Silas Dixon.
He's gonna take a gander around, look if there's any railroad workers that are just kind of hanging out.
There are a few. There's clerks in the station and a couple of other folks who, office personnel who are just sort of milling about. There's also a couple of more cargo hand types who are basically in the same spot as the 3 of you are, waiting for the train to come in.
I'm looking for the cargo boys, more specifically.
You're able to find one of them. What skill are you rolling, and what are you attempting to do?
Persuasion seems like the applicable skill here. My aim is to chat this man up and just kind of start off with bitching about things, ask him how many trains he deals with, and just see yeah, you get anything interesting on these rides, or any interesting characters come through sometime? You must have some great stories.
Sounds good to me. Let's see the roll. In Savage Worlds, you're going to roll 2 dice. The die associated with your persuasion skill, and you're going to roll the D6 wild die that you always get because you're a wild card. And you're going to take the higher between those 2 dice, and if you get the max roll on a die, it aces, and you get to roll it again and add it to the total.
Alrighty. Ooh. I think I want to use a fate chip.
Oh, did you not roll so well?
They were both 2s.
That would be a failure.
Yeah, so I'm going to use my white chip to re-roll my 1 die.
You re-roll the wild die as well.
Oh, shoot. All right, I got a 5.
That is a success. 1 task token added to the board.
Oh, yeah.
You find one of the cargo hands a little bit younger, maybe a little more likely to be loose-lipped. You start chatting him up. He talks about, there's all sorts come through here. All sorts of different cargo gets loaded up. This ain't usually anything too interesting, although every now and again you'll get something. He mentions he's actually had the chance to get a look at some pretty nice new rifles. Not too many of them, just, a crate or two. It's the only time he in his life has gotten that close to a brand new rifle like that. Pretty exciting times for a young man like him.
Yeah, I bet.
Alex, you start to step around on the platform.
Well, these boots are made for walking.
But you pretty quickly notice that one of the employees, who's more in a asset protection type of duty, is standing sort of by the doors, and he is just watching you. The guard is your complication. You're taking the -2 for the complication with the risk of utter failure if you don't succeed.
That sucks.
It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. It ain't dramatic without the chance of failure.
I like life.
Okay, I'm going to do the daring action of holding my turn. The unexpected and dramatic action.
Wow.
You walk around a little bit, you look nonchalant, you basically try to get this guy to think that you're not dangerous or important, and he can go back to just sort of standing there, keeping an eye on things in general instead of watching you. And it succeeds. Eventually, he sort of gives up on following you around with his eyes, and you see him sort of roll him and shrug a little bit and then go back to sort of just surveying the area.
Go.
Harold, you are up with the 9 of hearts.
Well, I'm heading, I suppose, to the bar food area for a little bit of shaved ice cream, perhaps the best that modernity can offer me. Reached into my bag, into my carrier of 5 pounds of premium Colorado Bulfunga Dream cannabis hemp, and shoving it into my ghost metal percolator and taking a big old rip of it as I walk into this bar.
Making a statement.
Everyone in the bar immediately knows what you're about.
I'm an advocate of the future. I am going to roll a common knowledge here. Before I do that, let me go ahead and do a notice roll using my smarts.
Are you doing the notice for the skill challenge, or is that just to sort of look around the bar?
Would that make a difference if I were to do it as my skill challenge? Would I have better results?
Which roll are you trying to roll for the skill challenge, just so I know?
I'm currently just looking around the bar. I'm thinking about the symbols that the captain had shown us, and I'm looking for anything that looks familiar.
Ah, okay. In that case, go ahead and roll notice. We'll do both rolls. I'm going to give you a -1 penalty to each of them.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like you're taking multiple actions, which would give you the -2 multi-action penalty. But I'm going to say that because you're just sort of glancing around the bar looking for one specific sort of thing, as well as anything of interest, and then you're also just sort of thinking on what you already know about the area using common knowledge, I'll reduce that to a -1 for each of those.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and do that.
So go ahead and start with the notice roll for me.
Which is 2d6, right? Or 1?
If you have a d6 in notice, then yeah, you're going to roll 2 d6s.
And then a wild card, correct? That's how that works?
You always have the wild die along with your skill die.
Super tight. So here I go with my dice rolling. Click. I rolled a 5 and a 2. Which gives me a total of 5, right? Because you take the highest one.
You take the highest one. It gives you a total of 4 because you have the -1 penalty. But that is still a success.
Woo.
And so you were noticing the symbols that the captain had shown you. Which symbols were you looking for?
Yeah. He had shown us like a rough drawing for the sky, right? And he was talking about this gang. I'm looking for anybody who's super into vipers, anybody who has like a snake fetish at the moment.
Surprisingly common.
At first, you see everything that's plainly on display. It's got the nice bar on the first floor. There's a piano
Nice.
set up, someone tickling the ivories,
Lovely.
helping to pass the time along. It's not the busiest hour, but being that
Ma'am.
it's a saloon across the street from a rail station in Dodge City, there's always somebody in there.
Howdy.
And a couple of folks give you the howdy back. They do sort of look at you when you rip on your percolator. Dodge City is not quite as filled with modernity as Denver.
It's a tobacco alternative.
One guy raises his cigar and says, "Yeah." You notice a door sort of off to the side, but kind of behind the bar, that you suspect would be an office.
An office here in the bar?
That definitely strikes you as, not directly like this must be linked to Viper, but it definitely catches your eye as like, that might be a place that's worth investigating.
I bet that's a place that's worth investigating.
You put the 2 and 2 together that anyone coming and going from the rail station probably ends up in this saloon at some point.
Interesting. Would that be my turn, or can I do anything else?
You can also do the common knowledge since you wanted to do that too. The success on the notice test does also add a task token to the board. You guys are up to 2 now.
Nice. I didn't know I was doing anything at all. Okay. Here's my common knowledge, trying to commonly know something.
Yeah, common knowledge just sort of represents your general awareness of the world and the knowledge of things that happen.
Okay, so I'm looking around, considering my common knowledge, looking for any symbols from this meeting I just had, from this conversation, looking for any young gang-looking members, anybody who's a little too shifty, any young men who might be into snakes. All right, rolling, click. I rolled a 4 as my highest.
4 on the die?
Yeah.
All right. With the -1 penalty, that is a 3, which is not a success.
Aw.
Do you want to use one of your fate chips?
Nah. I think all I've noticed so far is an office, so I feel like I'm onto something.
You notice the office, you notice the other people in the bar. There's not really a whole lot else going on right now. You don't really have enough to go on just yet
Okay.
to be figuring everything out.
Super tech.
And that brings us to the end of the first round.
I'm doing the best. I got us points.
You are doing the best.
Hey everybody, Brian here again. I'd like to give some shout outs to some of the great folks who are helping to provide sound and music that we're using in the episode. Rolemusic is continuing to provide our awesome intro song titled The River. One Man Symphony has provided a lot of additional scene music for throughout the episode. You can find them on Bandcamp. And there are all sorts of contributors at freesound.org who provide free sound effects and ambient noises that we're using. And you can check the show notes for more info and links to all of the music in the episode. You can also become part of the Twoscast community that we're building. We already have 300 downloads and we're so grateful for everything. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, searching Twoscast. That's TWOS cast. You can use the hashtag Twoscast to say hello as well. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. And if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts in particular, we will give a shout out. Come back in 2 weeks on March 30th for the continuation of Deadlands. Now let's get back to the action and see what the cowpokes are doing. You have 2 task tokens on the board. Round 2 begins. Alex, you do not keep the 2 of spades because you are quick, and so instead you get the king of diamonds.
Hey, no complications?
No complications.
Ooh.
John, you got the 4 of hearts, but you can't keep that. You're too quick for it. Instead, you get the 6 of diamonds.
I'll take it.
Harold, you get the 3 of diamonds.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Diamond's still a diamond.
Right. It's fine. 3s are cool shapes.
And so, Alex, you are up first with the king of diamonds. You have escaped the attention of that pesky guard.
Is there like an office anywhere on the train platform that I can try getting into?
Why, there's one at the bar.
There is also one at the train platform. The train platform extends from the sort of rail station itself. It's like 1.5 story building that presumably the half is for just sort of extra storage space up top. Runs along the whole length of the platform. There's a mail office of sorts where people could pick up their packages or post letters, equipped with a telegraph line as well. There's benches and things for people to sit on. It's got a lovely clock set up that you can tell the time on. And in fact, there are 2 other clocks next to it that show the time over in New York City and the time out in Denver. But most importantly, as you're looking around, you do indeed see that there's a room that is set off from all the others. It's got windows that run up and down the inside walls, but they are currently shuttered. There's some sort of curtain drawn across the inside. And the door, you suspect, would be locked, and it is marked office. When you move around the outside of the building, you find an outside door. leading into that same office that is a little less in the eye of people milling about as long as you time your entrance correctly. You would be able to try and get in there with a thievery roll because the door is locked.
Is there any loud activity currently going on the platform?
A wagon pulls up at one point. It's one of the stagecoaches that also, often use these rail stations as pick up and drop off points. And this one sounds like it's a stagecoach being run by a particularly ornery driver with some particularly, shall we say, upset passengers. They don't seem all that thrilled with the treatment they've had. They make quite a ruckus as they're disembarking.
My thievery is only a D4. I want to see if there's maybe something loud enough to cover up the sound of shooting a revolver, but I don't think that is loud enough.
There wouldn't really be anything loud enough for that, no.
Could I argue to use my fighting skill to either break a window or kick the door open?
You absolutely could try either of those things. It would be a strength roll rather than fighting.
Ooh. Okay, yeah, let's do that.
But I imagine your strength is higher than a D4 at least, so.
Yeah, my strength's a D6.
Still better. Now do let me know, are you gonna try and break the window, or are you gonna try and break the lock on the door, or just sort of, slam it open? Breaking the window would be much easier, but it's also gonna be much more easily noticed.
Yeah, I'm going for door. I'm doing door stuff.
All right, go ahead and roll me a strength roll.
Here it goes. It is a 5 and a 4.
All right. You had a -1 penalty on this because of the door being decently constructed. It's an outside door. It's got a lock on it for an outside door, but that doesn't stand up to you. You give it a couple of good shoves and finally kick near the handle, the way Pa taught you to do.
Just like Peepaw taught me.
Door flies open. With your quick reflexes, you are able to grab it before it slams against an inside wall or anything like that. And you slip inside and carefully shut the door behind you in order to start looking around in this office. It does net you 1 task token, and you begin looking through the files and paperwork for seeing what trains are coming, what's going, what's on them, all the manifests.
And everybody's really proud of me. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm always proud of you.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's your turn, John.
Let's start outside. I'm going to use my occult skill, or maybe I should just do notice. I don't know. They're the same.
Occult notice.
Because the rounds for this are taking place over a fair period of time, you would definitely have time to let each other know what you're going to do and find each other, let each other know what you just did, or any information or anything like that.
I hope we would have gelled as a group of friends enough to do that for each other.
So, for example, John, Silas could have easily heard from Fernando that he wanted to go break into the office of the rail station. You could go in there after him to look around if you wanted to. Or maybe, as you're looking around wondering yourself, you notice that the door is slightly ajar, and when you peek it open, you see Fernando inside. If you go into the bar, you could easily catch up with Grotanks and find out what he's been up to.
I'd like to go search the office, because if he's already in the office, I'm kind of interested in this cargo a little bit more. I'm gonna look for anything that looks like records and stuff that's out of the ordinary.
I would say you could roll notice. You could also roll smarts if you'd rather do that.
I would rather do that, in fact.
Notice is more about, looking for anything that looks important or looks out of place or anything like that. Smarts is going to be more in terms of you're looking through the papers themselves and catching what matters that you're reading and putting the bits of information together.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Oh, rough. Dude, I suck at this. Should I use my red fate chip already?
Do you need to switch dice?
I just did. I'll use my red as white.
Using your red fate chip as a white chip, so I don't get any extra chips to use for NPCs from this one.
All right, here we go. Change my D8. Oh, I aced my wild die.
Go ahead and roll it again.
I got a 1.
Damn, that's a total of 7.
That's not good.
No, that's fine. It's a success. It's just not a raise, which is what you were probably hoping for. That is a success, though. You do get 1 more token on the board, so you're up to 4 now as you start looking through the paperwork. And like I said, I'll let you know what all you guys are finding out from those manifests and documents come the end of things. Harold, you're up with the 3 diamonds.
3 diamonds coming in hot. I will mosey as hard as I can over to the bar with the most mosey I can muster, and I will slap down a couple of gold currency $8 American standard fare.
In a city like Dodge in the disputed territories, any form of currency is going to be accepted.
Fuck yeah. So I slapped down a couple of dollars. I slapped down a old handful of that old Bofunga Dream right on top of those dollars. And I slide them over to the bartender and I say, hey man, how's your day going? I've been given this job to look for some strange, evil individuals. Mind if I ask you kind of a strange question? And now, as I say this, I want to remind you that one of my hindrances is that I'm an outsider. And outsiders subtract 1 from persuasion rolls, which I'm about to do, made to influence those who aren't of their own kind. Now, I'm an American. I'm a half coyote, as it is in this universe. I'm a bastard. My father, he was of the tribe. My mother was not, and therefore I was not too.
Listen, we all know Grotanks is a bastard, but that has nothing to do with his parentage.
But he's also a stoner, and a capitalist, and a scientist. So maybe this bartender is of my kind, right?
He is not.
Damn.
Unfortunately. Go ahead and roll that persuasion for me and let me know what you're asking him. Or is that really what you were asking him? Like just sort of putting it to him like you're looking for those evil individuals and wondering if he knows anything about it.
You say his name Viper mean anything to you?
Go ahead and roll persuasion for me. And we're gonna roll this a flat persuasion roll. So what that means is that you're not gonna take that -1 penalty.
Super nice. Okay, here we go. 3 and a 3. It's a 3.
That is not a success.
Damn.
That is not quite there. You needed a 4. Do you want to spend a fate chip?
Sure, I got that extra one. Let's go ahead and throw that white one right on top.
All right. Go ahead and roll it again for me. Hope that you get something a little better this time.
Here we go. Big roll. Oh, it's a 5. My wild gave me a 5.
Beautiful. That's a success. The bartender had been wiping down the bar for really no reason. Like, as far as you can tell, there's nothing actually on the bar. He's just sort of wiping it to pass the time.
No, it's good. It's a good habit. It's a good habit. Bars are cesspools of disease. If you're going to bars right now, make sure to wear a mask. Wash your hands. Be safe. Okay, continue.
In this bar, this bartender, he sort of looks up at you, and you quickly get the sense that this man is neither half Cherokee nor half any sort of native, nor is he a stoner,
Or half interested.
Man, he's not a consumer. Bummer.
nor does he appear to be a scientist, nor much of a great thinker by any means, given what you can gather from him. But when you mention the name Viper, he perks up a little bit. He looks around and he leans in and he says, listen here, mister, I don't know what you've been hearing about this establishment or nothing, but we're proud to be in Dodge City, and we're proud to be in Kansas. We're proud to be a neutral territory here. We don't truck with anyone related to northern spy rings or southern renegades or anything. That's not what we're about here. I don't think that
Brian,
we're...
he said that he wasn't my kind. He's a libertarian. Of course he's my kind.
Oh, of course. I should have known.
I hear you, brother. Listen, I don't know how I got myself into this mess. And let me just go ahead and make this a persuasion, because listen, I am out of my depth. I am stoned out of my mind, and I don't want to be doing this. I don't. This is not my job. I'm a scientist. I'm a goddamn scientist. And you know what I want? I want a good man like you to be able to enjoy his freedom. To be able to go home and kiss his wife, enjoy a Coca-Cola. God damn it, I hate this man for bringing in his strange passions, his nationalism, his divisiveness. Anyway. You want some hemp?
You mean like rope?
Yeah. It's like rope. Yeah.
I don't think I have much use for rope, but...
Sure. But seriously, sir, if you know which way I should be going to make this problem go away.
Well, mister, you didn't hear this from me. I'm not a man who knows many things, but as sure as I know that taxation is theft, I know that the only time I've been hearing about this Viper fellow is from folks coming in from that Black River rail across the street there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just folks who's been riding them.
I see.
I mean the folks who's been working those rail cars. Take my meaning?
Are they hiring? Do they advertise their employment often?
He licks his lips and looks around and says, I don't know nothing about that, mister. If you want a drink, I can help you out, but that's all I can do for you here. That or a light lunch.
I'll have myself a light lunch, a glass of water, and I'm going to tell you about my favorite thing. And I go right into my monologue that I had earlier about cannabis, and I share it with him again.
We'll just cut it and insert it there.
He is very interested, and he is
good.
quickly enwrapped by your monologue. You get the sense that he doesn't really understand most of what you're talking about. You know, he seems interested, and you did succeed on the persuasion roll, which gets you another task token on the board. So as we end round 2, you boys have 5 tokens.
Look at me carrying water for this group. Nice.
You boys have 5 tokens on the board.
How many tokens do we need?
So the more you get, the better it is. The baseline that you're looking for is 9.
Fuck.
Ideally, you walk out of this with at least 9 tokens.
How do we get more than 2 tokens on a turn?
Somebody needs to raise.
Ah, shit. Okay.
So figure out what you can do well, but we'll see what happens as we come in here to round 3 and we deal the cards. Alex, you got the 10 of spades.
Oh, yeah.
John, you got the queen of spades.
Oh boy.
Harold, 7 of diamonds.
Nice.
John, you're up first. Silas Dixon, when we last left him, he was still in that office, looking over the manifests and documents from presumably the office of the station clerk or the manager.
So I can continue to look there?
You can continue to look there. You can just roll smarts again if you want, or you can look for something else and roll whatever.
No, I'm going to do that because that's my best bet.
All right.
A 7 and a 4.
That is a success. Not quite a raise, unfortunately, but that is one more task token. So you guys are up to 6 as you continue looking through the documents, and your eyes widen and narrow at different points as you start to put together all the pieces and figure out what exactly is going on here. Alex, you're up next.
Okay. I am still in that back office. I want to see what I can find. I'm going to roll notice. Yeah, notice.
Okay.
That is a D6. Damn it. That is a 2 and a 2.
2 and a 2 is going to be a failure.
I would like to spend a blue chip.
Blue fate chip. All right. I assume you're spending it as a blue fate chip.
Yes.
You're going to re-roll that whole roll, and you get an extra D6 that you add to the total of whichever die is higher. And that extra D6 can also ace.
All right. A 1, a 1, and a 3. Yeah. Fantastic.
Tight. A 1, a 1, and a 3. Well, 3 on that extra D6 gets added to one of those ones, which turns it into a 4. And that does add onto the die roll itself. So it's not considered snake eyes, automatic critical failure, or anything like that.
Sweet.
You're going through the papers and everything. You're looking through it all, and you're not really getting anything. And then you see something on one paper that makes you flip back through several until you find a page that you realize those two together mean something.
Got math equations flashing over in front of my head and everything.
That's another task token on the board. You're up to 7 total now.
All right. It's all up to you, Harold.
Harold, you're up.
Oh shit.
Need to get 2.
You get 2.
I need to get 2.
No pressure.
You can be a hero, and if you manage to get a raise, you'll get the last 2 tokens you guys are really hoping for.
I'm enjoying myself a light lunch. I'm feeling good. I've had a wealthy amount of cannabis sitting at the bar. I've made a good friend. And I decided to stand up, fix my belt, collect all of my items, and walk right outside towards what I think is the main office of the rail station, and hope to follow up on that lead a little bit.
Well, when you go into the main station building, you do see what appears to be the office space, denoted from the fact that it's a separate room, the curtained windows, and the door marked office.
That's strange.
I'll
look around for a moment, and I'll approach the door. I'll look inside, and what do I see?
You try to look through the window between the curtains. You don't see much, but you are pretty sure that you see Fernando Lopez digging through a drawer and looking at the papers that were inside of it.
I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna open the door. Fernando Lopez, you sneaky son of a bitch.
If you try the door to the office inside of the building, it is locked.
Oh.
Fernando and Silas, you both hear the door It's not super sturdy in its frame, and you hear it sort of rattling back and forth as the doorknob rattles. And if you shift the curtain or the shutters aside a little bit, you can indeed see Grotank, who has been trying the handle.
I'll open the door.
Hey, you guys on it? You figured it out? You figured it out? You figured it out? Do you figure it out?
You are able to open the door, and Grotank slips inside before anyone seems to notice what is happening.
Fuck yeah. Grotank's luck.
Is this counting for successes? Are we succeeding?
No,
Damn it.
He's not done anything yet.
he hasn't rolled anything yet. This is just wonderful role playing.
I haven't done anything. I'm just walking around. Hey, guys. Hey. Hey. Hey.
Did anybody see you come in here?
No, I just had a wonderful light lunch across the street. Bartender is a gem. Really a humble man.
Where's my salad?
Oh, bro, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. It happens all the time. But hey, I did figure out, though, that apparently the word on the street is that this rail company in particular, including the employees especially, are not quite on the level. And if we're looking for a lead, we should be looking for an employee. At least that's what my lead tells me.
I mean, that lines up with what the captain had told us, and I was talking myself to a young cargo hand out there saying that they're getting a lot of rifles in, brand new ones, things he'd never really seen before.
Should we go and torture that guy?
Torture?
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 I meant to mention this before we went out. I was going to mention the fact that they should be careful and just be aware because there's a lot of suspected like witchery and witchcraft with this company.
Witchery. I like that. No, witchery is cool. No, witchery is nice. That's cool. That's neat. Here it is in my turn now, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and also rifle or be like, hey, you guys want me to like go talk to somebody or what are you guys doing? I'm good. I mean, I had lunch. I'm just kind of hanging,
You're practically dead to me without my salad.
I think you got other type of lettuce in there.
creating a cloud around me as I'm talking.
Stop smoking.
Got that Lady Devlin lettuce.
Lady Devlin, that's right. We need to find some kind of connection with Lady Devlin.
Maybe you get an employee to come on in here and we work them.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go do that. You guys keep rifling. I'll be right back.
All right, bear in mind, you're the one who needs to make the roll.
Oh, no problem. I'm just gonna lean my head out of the office door where I saw the mail clerks. Oh, excuse me, sir. Can you help me over here? I seem to have misplaced something.
Roll for me 2d6. Or if you want to make this part of the roll persuasion for me. You can do that too.
Here we go. 2d6. One of them is my wild. Here we go.
Ace.
It's a 6.
Yes!
That was for your persuasion?
Yep.
Roll again.
Here we go. Big roll. Shaking my hand and click. It's a 4.
Okay, 6 plus 4 is a 10. That means that you got a success and a raise.
Yeah!
Ooh.
Oh gosh.
You got 2 task tokens.
Wow. How am I the most productive?
Even with your penalty for being an outsider, you got 2 task tokens, bringing you up to a total of 9.
All you did was make someone notice us.
Oh, that's true.
As you wave, and the clerk who you wave to, like, looks up. He was just, like, writing notes. He, like, frowns and looks back at his notes, and then looks up again and starts as he realizes that someone who is clearly not the station manager is in the station manager's office. And he, like, glances around. You get the sense that he's a very bookish, nervous sort of fellow. And he glances around and then scurries on over.
For the audio listeners at home, I'm making all of my like very large hand gestures, being like, come on, I asked you to come over here.
He's doing a lot of visual stuff that doesn't translate in an audio medium.
And he skitters over to the doorway and he like, who are you? You're not.
Will you just get in here already? Just come here.
Oh, Lord. He steps inside. He, in fact, closes the door behind him. You don't even have to do that.
Okay, good.
And then notices that he is suddenly in a room with 3, presumably all 3 of you armed men.
Yeah, I immediately start mugging him. And I rifle through his pockets.
He like lifts his hands in the air, drops what he was holding, and says, "Oh God, please, don't hurt me, don't hurt me or nothing. I didn't."
I can roll a thievery too. I'd love to.
No, you don't have to.
That's how well you persuaded him.
The only real things of note on him are he has a pocket watch in
Take
one
it.
pocket,
Yep.
and he has a little locket with like a profile picture of a woman in the other pocket.
Also taking it.
Get his shoes.
Oh God, please, listen. I don't know what you fellas are looking for. I don't know what Mr. Halabash has gotten himself into, but I didn't have any part of it, and I don't know nothing. So please, just do whatever you got to do and get on out of here. I won't tell anyone, I swear.
I think we'll be the judge of what it is you do and don't know.
Oh, God, please.
Well, it seems that Mr. Halabash has gone and angered Miss Devlin. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what exactly he's been doing here?
As far as I know, he always reports up the chain. I thought Miss Devlin had handed down everything that we were doing here, all the non-usual stuff, and anything unusual that was happening. Can I put my hands down?
No.
No, you cannot.
All right. He reaches them further up.
Mr. Halabash is suspected of doing some things that aren't quite right. So I need you to tell me exactly what's been going on here. Specifically, the more sensitive matters that Miss Devlin has him deal with.
He leans in and gives a conspiratorial whisper, which is very unnecessary since you're in this office and no one else has heard you or anything. But he leans in anyway and he says, "Are you talking about that Viper fella? Is that who you? Shh! Oh, that Viper fella. Is that who you're talking about?"
Look at me, son. Look at me.
Now stop looking at him.
Of course I'm talking about the Viper fella.
I figured that was what it was, but I know we're not supposed to talk to nobody about it. But if you're here from Miss Devlin, then as far as I know, Mr. Halabash, I think he follows her letter exactly what she says to do. We load up any of the marked cargo, and the boys know that they stop at the station halfway to take on water for up in the mountains, but to drop off the deliveries and pick anything up.
Right. If what you say is true about Mr. Halabash, then he might be fine as of yet. For now, you just go back to your business. Don't mention this to Mr. Halabash or anyone else. If he asks you about the door, tell him that, some kids broke in, chased him off. That was fine.
Oh, you broke the door? I'm gonna have to fix that later. Oh, man.
The price we have to pay for security, son. We have to make sure and vet everyone yearly.
I reach over and I give him his locket back and be like, you take care of her.
Thank you, sir. I think.
And then I take it.
Oh! He very slowly lowers his hands, but once it's clear that you are okay with him leaving, he raises a finger to his lips and says, "I swear I won't tell anyone." And then he scurries out of the office. He doesn't pick up his clipboard or his pen before he goes. He just leaves.
Now it seems like we know where we need to get off. Start searching.
The information that he gave you is actually perfect for going on and filling in the blanks of what you guys had already gathered. See, the documents that you had found already were all pointing you in the direction of things not being quite right. You're looking at the timetables for the trains and realizing that the trains are all scheduled, not all of them, but at least once every couple of days, there's a train that's scheduled to stop at one of the smaller station heads to take on water as it's heading to Denver. And it only does this every now and again. At first, you might think as you're looking at it piece by piece that, well, maybe some of the trains are on different routes than others and they need to take on water there, and some trains don't because they are on a different route and they're full. They just filled up in Denver or in Dodge. But that's not right, because some of the trains that you're finding are the same train on the same route, but sometimes it stops there and sometimes it doesn't. And that's not a station that a train that just filled up in Dodge or Denver would need to stop at to make the trip between the two. And then you start putting together that there's cargo going missing. Dry goods, canned goods, cargo that's marked with a more vague reference. Mechanical parts. You suspect that might be where the rifles went and ended up. You get the sense that the station you're looking for is a very small one, referred to as Devil's Gorge, set in the crags of the mountains before it gets too high up onto the plateau where Denver sits. Strikes all three of you as potentially a very good area where a spy and his gang of outlaws could set up their hideout away from prying eyes, especially if they had the assistance of an established rail station and rail baroness to aid them in getting supplies back and forth, as well as information. And all signs point to this. You hear the train pulling up to the station outside of the office. You find the timetable for the trains for today, and you do see that the train that you're about to catch is intended to stop at Devil's Gorge.
Oh, shit.
Well, there's nothing more suspicious than water.
Very true.
I never trusted water.
AdamandEve.com. I know you're listening. You will be our first and maybe our last. I hope you can get in on this. The D&D market is ready for you.
How dope would it be if we got Adam and Eve? I would die. That'd be amazing. That'd be so great.
That could be our niche, is not just that we're like the one-shot podcast, but we're also the podcast that's sponsored by all the sex websites. It's because we're the pants-free podcast.
It's because we're the Pants Free Podcast. It's true.
Hashtag Pants Free Podcast. Thank you all for supporting hashtag Pants Free Podcast. Thank you. Right.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
Right.
Right.
Right.
Right.